In the hills above Epernay, France, sits a quiet village with a sacred place that changed the course of winemaking and celebration forever. Welcome to Hot Fillers, in the heart of the Champagne region, where the Benedictine monk named Dom Pierre Perignon helped transform a flawed, fizzy wine into a global symbol of elegance. At the entrance to Abbey of Saint Pierre de Hautefeuillers, a statue of Dom Perignon stands with arms folded as if still evaluating a barrel of grapes. Behind him, the Abbey's stone facade and gentle bell tower whisper stories of patience, devotion, and discovery. Welcome, my friends. This is Wendy with Where Wendy Travels, and today we are looking at a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In 2015, this site, along with the surrounding vineyards, cellars, and production houses, was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognizing not only the craftsmanship of champagne production, but its cultural and historical impact on the world. This is the story of Dom Perignon, the monk, the myth, and the father of champagne. So who was Dom Perignon? Dom Perignon was born in 1638 in the town of Saint-Ménehould, France. At 19 years old, he joined the Order of Saint Benedict, dedicating his life to God, simplicity, and communal service. In 1668, he became the cellar master at the Abbey of Saint Pierre in Hautefeuillers, a position of great trust and importance. And for the next 47 years, he applied himself to the improvement of the Abbey's wine. He was no ordinary monk. Dom Perignon was a man of discipline. He was a man of focus and innovation. He saw winemaking not as mere agriculture, but as a spiritual craft, something to be mastered and elevated. Let's clear the bubbles. Dom Perignon did not invent champagne. In fact, at the time, bubbles were considered a flaw, a dangerous and unpredictable result of re-fermentation that often caused bottles to explode. Dom Perignon's original goal was to make a still wine of great clarity and structure. But in the process of his meticulous blending and fermentation techniques, he laid the foundation for the modern champagne method. He pioneered blending grapes, particularly Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, to balance acidity, structure, and aroma. Gentle pressing techniques to keep juice clear and pure, and the use of stronger glass bottles and sealed corks tied with a string, which eventually helped control pressure buildup and fermentation. Over time, the sparkling wines of Champagne became notorious and then fashionable. A quote often, and likely falsely, attributed to him captures the moment perfectly. "Come quickly, I am tasting the stars." While he may never have spoken those words, the sentiment endures. Dom Perignon lived quietly, but his influence echoed loudly. He did not seek attention. He left behind no books, no records of invention, only a trail of perfected barrels and elevated standards. Even in his later years, when he lost his vision, he continued to blend wines by smell and taste alone. He died in 1715, at the age of 77. His innovation set the stage for Champagne's transformation into the world's most prestigious sparkling wine. Dom Perignon is buried in this abbey. He's buried in the Abbey of Saint Pierre de Hautefeuillers, beneath a stone slab marked with his name, located just beneath the choir area of the church. Next to him lies Dom Perignon, a fellow monk and scholar who also contributed to wine history, and whose name now graces one of the oldest champagne houses, Renard. The abbey itself, this church, dates back to the 7th century and was expanded over time before being partially dismantled during the French Revolution. The church, however, remains intact and sacred. Today, this is more than a historic site. It is a pilgrimage destination. Thousands of visitors like us come each year to walk the vine-covered hills, explore the village of Hautevillers, and pay respects to the monk who made wine sparkle. So why is this region granted UNESCO World Heritage status? Well, my friends, it's because no other place on earth so fully embodies the birthplace of modern sparkling wine. Champagne is not just wine. It's a geographically protected name. Real champagne must come from this region, using grapes grown on this land under very strict regulations. The uniquely chalky soil, cool climate, and centuries of winemaking expertise make this area singular. UNESCO recognized the vineyards, wine houses, and cellars, including the 250 kilometers of chalk tunnels. That's right, my friends, 250 kilometers of tunnels beneath Epernay and Reims, where champagne is aged in silence and darkness in a chalky stone, is all World UNESCO site. So walking through Hautevillers is like stepping into a living museum of champagne. Above each doorway hangs a wrought iron sign depicting everything from wine barrels to horseshoes to saintly figures, telling the story of each household's history and trade. Many of the homes here are still owned by winemakers, some of whom descend from families who lived and worked here for generations and generations and generations. From the Abbey steps, you can see the Marne Valley unfolded in neat rows of vines. And in the village cafes, you'll hear stories told in hushed reverence about Dom Perignon, who still seems to hover among the hills like a gentle ghost. So, my friends, let's toast to some sparkling facts. The Champagne region produces over 300 million bottles a year. Yes, my friends, you heard that. Over 300 million bottles a year. The Dom Perignon brand, created in 1936 by Moet and Chandon, is only produced in vintage years, meaning all the grapes came from a single harvest. Dom Perignon refused to use flawed or overripe grapes. He was obsessed with quality. The cellars beneath Reims and Epernay hold more than 1 billion bottles, some aging for decades. Yes, my friends, you heard me right. The cellars, those tunnels in chalky stone, hold more than 1 billion bottles. Dom Perignon was blind later in life, but he still blended by taste and touch alone. The champagne cork is twisted and wired down, a method inspired by early solutions Dom Perignon helped develop to keep bottles from exploding. Real champagne must come from champagne. Anything else, my friends, is just sparkling wine. Dom Perignon, Dom Pierre Perignon, never held a title of nobility. He was a monk. He never ran a business, and he never claimed fame. Yet his name is now spoken wherever joy is shared and milestones are toasted. He lies at peace in a quiet abbey among the vines, surrounded by the land he walked, the grapes he loved, and the mystery he helped uncork. So next time, my friends, you sip champagne, remember, you are not just drinking wine. You are tasting the stars. Cheers to Dom Perignon. Another fun fact, Dom Perignon never allowed red grapes to be crushed by foot. He pioneered the use of the Concord presses to keep the juice clear and clean, to slowly crush them without getting the skins to discolor the champagne. And the champagne's bottles, thick glass and wired corks, were developed to prevent explosions during secondary fermentation, something Dom Perignon helped inspire. So, my friends, again, if you get to France, if you get to Champagne, you must visit this beautiful region in this quiet monastery perched on a gentle hillside in northeastern France. Rolling vineyards and beautiful, beautiful champagne await you. So raise a glass of the bubbly and have a great day.